Hey gang, and welcome back. These videos are brought to you by Card Conduit, the best place to sell your unused collection fast and easily. 401 Games, Canada's top shop for all your hobby and TCG needs. Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest decks. Moxfield, the easiest way to store and share your deck lists. And Foil Armor, flatten your foils fast. Today's game has Max winning the die roll and starting us off. He draws and plays a snow-covered forest, passing. Zach, new to the channel, plays a tap Festering Thicket. Colby, also new to the channel, has a Swamp, and he taps it for a Dark Ritual. He then uses the 3 black mana for a Pawn of Ulamog. Andy, also new to the channel, plays a tap Fetid Pools. Max has got a Forest and casts Gyre Sage. Zach's turn has him playing a Sulphurous Springs, and then an Aftermath Analyst. As it comes in, he mills 3. Colby plays an Urborg after drawing for turn, and casts Soul Ring. He's then able to cast, but chooses to sacrifice nothing as it comes in. Colby then hits Andy for 2 with the Pawn, and passes. Andy just got a Swamp, and casts Is It Signet. Max draws, plays a Ghost Quarter, and casts Bridgework Battle, having the Gyre Sage fight Sephiroth. Max then swings the Gyre Sage at Zach, dealing 3 and passing. Zach's turn has him drawing and taking 2 as an Overgrown Tomb comes in untapped, and he then casts Azusa, Lost But Seeking. He then plays Sasur Secundi, and then a Canyon Slough as his 2 extra lands for turn. He pokes Andy for 1 with the Aftermath Analyst, and passes. Colby draws, plays a Swamp, and casts Lightning Greaves. He then moves the Greaves onto the Pawn of Ulamog, and sends it at Max for 2. Max just takes it, and Colby passes. Andy draws and plays a Command Tower, and then helps set up his next turn with Kefka by casting a Liliana's Caress. Max draws and casts Professor Hojo, which evolves the Gyre Sage. He then plays a Lotus Field, which as it comes in, has him sacrificing 2 tap lands, and he passes after that. Zach draws and plays Hearthhull, and then stations it with Azusa and the Aftermath Analyst. He then activates Hearthhull, sacrificing Sasur Secundi, drawing 2, but none of them are extra lands, and he has to pass. Colby's turn has him playing a Swamp and casting Bloodghast. He then sends the Pawn of Ulamog at Zach, dealing 2 and passing. Andy draws and plays a Mountain, and then brings out Kefka. This has everyone discarding a card, with Andy drawing 2 as there are 2 types hitting the yard, and each opponent takes 2 from the Liliana's Caress. Andy then passes turn. Max draws and plays out a Spike Colony, which evolves the Gyre Sage. He then activates the Spike Colony for free thanks to Professor Hojo's ability, and moves a counter onto Professor Hojo, which draws him a card as well. Going to combat, he then hits Colby for 3 with Hojo, and passes. Zach draws and plays out an Arid Mesa, cracking it and losing 1 for a Mountain. He then plays a Kick-Sprouting Goblin. Zach then follows up with an Exploration Broodship, and once that's out, sacrifices a Mountain to Hearthhull, drawing 2 more. He plays a Woodland Cemetery, and then casts a Soul Ring. He then further stations Hearthhull with Azusa and the Aftermath Analyst again, and passes after that. Colby's turn has him replaying Sephiroth, sacrificing Bloodghast as it comes in. This has Colby draining Andy for 1, and draws a card. Plus makes an Eldrazi Spawn token. And he then moves the Greaves onto Sephiroth, and goes to combat. He sacrifices the 2 Eldrazi Spawns, draining Andy for 2, and then sends Sephiroth at Zach. On attack, he sacrifices the Pawn of Ulamog, which drains Andy for another 1. This is the 4th time, so Sephiroth flips, with Colby drawing again from having sacrificed the pawn. Zach then takes 5 from Sephiroth. After combat, Colby then plays Crypt of Agadim, which comes in tapped, and brings back his Bloodghast. He then passes, and during the end step, Max casts Force of Vigor and destroys the Lightning Greaves and Liliana's Caress. Andy draws, playing out an island for turn, and then sends Kefka at Colby. Once more everyone discards, and Andy draws 3 off of it. Colby then jumps to the Eldrazi spawn token, and as it gets taken out, drains Andy for 1. After combat, Andy casts Thassa Deep Dwelling. He then moves to his end step, flickering Kefka. As it comes in, everyone discards again, with Andy drawing a total of 3 more as well. He then passes and has to discard down to hand size. Max draws, plays a forest, and casts an Evolution Witness. He then activates the Spike Colony and moves a counter onto the Witness, which allows him to return Kenra's transformation to hand. Max then casts the transformation and puts it onto Kefka and moves to combat. He sends the Gyre Sage and Professor Hojo at Andy, who responds, tapping a mountain for a black thanks to the Herb War on Colby's side for Dark Ritual, and uses the floating mana plus a blue to cast Displace and blinks Kefka. With Kefka re-entering, it triggers, and everyone discards a card, with Andy drawing 3. He then uses Kefka to block Professor Hojo, but still takes 3 from the Gyre Sage. Max passes after that. Zach draws and activates the Sprouting Goblin, sacrificing his Sheltered Thicket. He then plays a Swamp, and activates Hearthhull, sacrificing a Sulphurous Springs. Zach then continues by casting Titania Nature's Force, and as it comes in, is then able to play a Sheltered Thicket from the graveyard, which in turn makes him a 5/3 elemental token. He follows that up by casting Night's Whisper, drawing 2 and losing 2, and then stations up the Broodship to full power. Zach then sends the Broodship at Andy, who takes the hit, and Zach passes. Colby draws and casts a Demonic Tutor in his main phase. He follows up by casting Liliana the Veil. Once the Walker is out, he downticks Liliana, targeting Andy to make him sacrifice a creature, which in turn takes out Kefka. Going to combat, Colby then sends Sephiroth at Andy, sacrificing the Bloodghast again, drawing a card and draining Andy for 1. He ships it after that. Andy draws, plays a Storm-Carved Coast, and then casts a Monument to Endurance and ships it to Max. Max draws, and plays Open the Way, putting 4 into the X. He finds 3 forests and Lair of the Hydra, and going to combat sends a Spike Colony and Evolution Witness at Andy, who takes the hit. Max then passes turn. Zach draws, and plays a Twilight Mire for turn, and then sacrifices the Sheltered Thicket to the Sprouting Goblin and draws. He then replays the Sheltered Thicket and gets an Elemental token thanks to Titania, and then uses the Elemental to station up Hearthhull to full power. Going to combat, Zach then sends the Broodship, Hearthhull, and an Elemental token at Andy to try and take him out. Andy's got removal though with a Withering Torment, and targets Hearthhull. This has Zach responding by activating it and sacrificing Sheltered Thicket to draw 2 cards, and it also deals 2 to each of his opponents from sacrificing a land. The Hearthhull is then taken out, and Colby drains Andy for 1 with the Sephiroth trigger. Zach then plays a Skewering Swarm, and then an Ignoble Hierarch. He then replays the Sheltered Thicket from his graveyard again to make another Elemental token, and passes. Colby draws and plays Jadar, and once he's out, casts Go for the Throat and targets the Scouring Swarm. It's destroyed, with Colby draining Andy for his last point of life. He then sends Sephiroth at Zach, but doesn't sacrifice anything for the on-attack trigger. Zach then takes 5, and Colby passes. During the end step, Jadar triggers and makes a Decayed Zombie token for Colby. Max draws and recasts Hojo, and then activates the Spike Colony to move a counter to the Evolution Witness to get back Kenra's transformation again, and draws a card. He then uses the transformation on Sephiroth this time, and then goes to combat. He sends the Witness and Gyre Sage at Liliana, and Colby doesn't block and lets her get taken out. After that, Max passes. Zach's turn has him playing Smoldering Marsh and recasting Hearthhull. He once more stations it to full, and then casts World Soul's Rage for 5. He deals 5 to Colby, and brings back 5 lands from his graveyard, and then sends the Brood Ship, Hearthhull, and 3 elemental tokens at Colby. He takes the hit and drops down to 15, with Zach passing after that. Colby draws and plays a Castle Lochthwain, and then activates it, drawing a card and losing 1. He then casts Filth, and sends a zombie token from Jadar and Sephiroth at Zach, and after connecting, Colby sacrifices the Decayed Zombie token and drains Zach for 1. He then moves to his end step, and Jadar makes him another Decayed Zombie token, and Colby passes. Max's main phase has him playing Nykthos, and then casting a Greenbelt Guardian. He then activates Nykthos for 5, and exhausts the Greenbelt Guardian, and follows up by casting Smell Fear to take out Filth. Max then gets to proliferate, and he gets back Evolution Sage with the Evolution Witness. Max then continues by moving a counter from the Spike Colony onto the Evolution Witness, and brings back a Forest. He then casts the Evolution Sage, and once it's out, plays a Forest, which gets him a Proliferate again. The Witness once more gets a Forest back to his hand, and Max then moves to combat. Max sends Hojo, the Witness, and the Spike Colony at Colby, and Colby moves to jump the Witness with Jadar. Max in turn gives it Trample with the Greenbelt Guardian, and Colby then takes the rest. As a creature gets taken out, Colby drains Zach for 1 with the Emblem trigger, and Max then passes turn. Zach draws and cracks his Arid Mesa for an untapped Stomping Ground. Hearthhull deals 2 to each of his opponents from the sacrifice, and then casts Mightform Harmonizer from his graveyard with the Brood Ship. And Zach then sacrifices his Stomping Grounds to the Sprouting Goblin, dealing another 2 and drawing a card. Zach then plays an Overgrown Tomb and a Stomping Ground from his graveyard tapped, and doubles Hearthhull's power twice to up to 24, thanks to the Harmonizer. Zach then casts a Sylvan Safekeeper, and then sacrifices the Sheltered Thicket to give Hearthhull Shroud. This'll have Colby getting taken out to the Hearthhull trigger, and with the trigger on the stack, Max responds with a Beast Within and targets Hearthhull. Zach in turn sacrifices another land to save Hearthhull and give it Shroud thanks to the Sylvan Safekeeper. He then plays a Sheltered Thicket and swings Hearthhull, which is 24 power at max, and deals lethal commander damage in 1 shot and wins the game. Game review time. So this game was over an hour, and most of that was due to the fact that people were playing these decks for the first time. I do think that the Professor Hojo deck might have been out of its element with what it was doing, but I thought it did pretty well all things considered. That Witness got back a lot of cards and a lot of value. The strongest card this game was definitely Hearthhull, as it provided Zach with so much value, so much damage, and so much card draw. Sephiroth always is fun to see, and Kefka, yeah, this is like the second or third game we've played with Kefka, and it's really, really awful. I don't like discard decks, I just made this because I thought it could be fun, but yeah, it ultimately feels like every other discard deck, which just slows things down unnecessarily. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.